Yeah. Yep. All right, Ramon, thanks for coming out here today. I'm Bill Andersen. I'm one of the directors with the Emerald Coast Wildlife Refuge. We're one of the oldest and largest wildlife rehabilitators in Northwest Florida. We handle the area all the way from the Alabama state line to just west of Panama City. And we rescue, rehabilitate, and release sick, injured, and orphan wildlife from all our native wild species across that area. So last year about 1,800 creatures that we rehabilitated, and of 152 different species. And then the other half of our mission is education about conservation for the beautiful wildlife here in Northwest Florida and how we can interact with them a little better. So here's going to be the home of the Emerald Coast Wildlife Refuge that I wanted to show you around a little bit. It's 2.3 acres of undeveloped wilderness. It's going to make a beautiful wildlife refuge home. We're currently located on Okaloosa Island. There in Fort Walton Beach in the old fire station, and we've been very grateful to have the county over there leasing us that facility for use, but it's time to go. You know, the fire station built themselves a new facility for a reason, and it's now time for us to do so. So this is our $979,000 project. We'll be building 2 buildings that I wouldn't mind walking you around in if you got the time. So this first one that you'll come to when you visit us here. And oh, by the way, this is now zoned Parks and Recreation land. So this will be Navarre and Santa Rosa County's newest park as soon as we get open, which we expect will be in June of 2019 here. So this will be our Education and Visitor Outreach Center, 2,000 square foot building centered around a classroom that we will be conducting classes from, my wife likes to say, from age 2 to 92 of the public in our conservation efforts and the beautiful wildlife we have in this special part of our country. This will also be a facility that we'll use for the fundraising for the organization. We are 100% donor funded, and very appreciative of some major donors here recently that we'll talk about. And we'll also make this space available to civic groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, astronomy clubs, gardening clubs, you name it. We consider this a public space, so we want this to be a community center for our community. So it'll be featured around a indoor-outdoor classroom. Here's the French doors that will open onto a paver brick patio and facing these beautiful heritage live oak trees that you see. We've had the great pleasure of, yesterday I was talking to a couple of contractors. There was a red-shouldered hawk sitting on that limb right there looking at us. Down closer to the water, we've had a bald eagle pair that's been perching up in our slash pines back there to the south end of the property. Wild blueberry and other berries throughout the property. A lot of food sources. We've identified 14 species of butterfly already on the property. And just a really cool place. The wildlife is already here and present, and we're going to do our best to keep it that way. So we spent a lot of time siting these buildings so that we lost as few trees as possible to that end. Some of the signs you see throughout the property will be the locations of our animal habitats. We have 2 types of animals. The ones that we've rescued, rehabilitated, and are trying to release. So they'll kind of be on the back part of the property, so they won't be exposed to humans and imprint on us and become either nuisance animals or lose their capacity or motivation to hunt for themselves. And then our animal ambassadors, which are creatures that are either too injured to hunt for themselves if they're predators, or would immediately become prey because they can't defend themselves. They will be on the front end of the property, and our permit issuers allow us to use those animals for educational purposes in our conservation education mission. So those are our animal ambassadors, and we'll walk through some of those habitats too. But this will be our medical rehabilitation facility, very similar to any other veterinarian clinic you will see. We do have a veterinarian on staff, as well as a couple of wildlife rehabilitators and literally 150 volunteers or so that dedicate their time and efforts to helping us with this mission of rehabilitating these animals. So standard triage, clinics, ward rooms, nurseries, etc. for our animals. I I think we can proclaim quite frankly that baby season is upon us for the spring here. We got 5 baby squirrels in yesterday, a couple of doves, and we still have a few juvenile raccoons left over from the winter season that are approaching release size and age right now. In addition to your standard songbirds, herons, pelicans that we see routinely throughout this area, possums, raccoons, etc. So this habitat will be our raccoon rehabilitation habitat. Raccoons are one of the creatures that we see the most of, so pretty sizable habitat as you see, and it's in the back of the property again to keep these raccoons as they heal from imprinting on humans. So the back part of the property won't be open to the public, but we'll walk around and show you some of the front animal ambassador habitats that will be.
And all this area will be ADA approved walkways and facilities for everybody to come out and
visit.
Will.
Right? Intentionally. I'm a 100% disabled veteran myself, so I certainly have tremendous appreciation for those that are facing challenges, and we absolutely want this to be accessible to everyone. We've talked about the best way to do that in terms of making it accessible to everyone and still keeping it as natural as possible. We certainly don't want it concrete. So that then becomes, you know, do you get some all-terrain wheelchairs? Do you use the mats that we're now starting to see them put out on the beach for beach access to those that are wheelchair bound, etc.? So we're thinking through that, and boy, we'd love to hear folks' ideas if they have some good ones for us. So we'll kind of wander right on back through the fence line. So back here towards the back of the property, the stakes you see, this will likely be our deer habitat. As you know, baby fawns are pretty skittish little creatures, so we got to keep them as isolated as we possibly can. A big problem we have when we get into fawn season is kidnapping. You know, mother deer often are just going out there foraging. Somebody will come across a little fawn who's balled up and think, oh, the mother's abandoned it. No, chances are it's just off foraging. So what we recommend to folks is leave it for a day, just monitor it, leave it for a second day. Don't bring it to us until you absolutely can't stand it, or you can confirm that mother, something bad has happened to her. Otherwise, we're just kind of kidnapping and creating more of a problem than we're solving. So these will be some more of the animal habitats that we were talking about. So, pelicans, gopher tortoises, foxes, herons. Oh boy. All different species of birds, both raptors and songbirds. Raccoons, opossums, skunks, several different types of snakes. All those habitats will be resident both for rehabilitation and for animal ambassador purposes. This big area you see here, Ramon, this is our largest habitat that we still have to get funded and built. Cost estimates are right now at $65,000. This is for our large raptor rehabilitation habitat. Minimum size of 100 feet long, 20 foot wide, 16 feet tall. It's got to be unobstructed flight space for those rehabilitating birds. Thus you see the big cleared area. So one of those habitats that we certainly need help with getting constructed, as right now we have to, since we don't have that large habitat, we have to, at the final stage of the rehabilitation, take those raptors up to Alabama, and transporting them, believe it or not, is pretty stressful on raptors. So this will be the final stage in rehabilitation for bald eagles, ospreys, 5 different species of owls that we see here down in northwest Florida, the 2 different species of vultures that we have, and so on. So this is, as I said, this is the largest outstanding habitat cost that we still need to raise funds for, and it's a big one. So we'll get it done. We've had a lot of great support from the community, but a smaller example of that, kind of one of the beginning steps in raptor rehabilitation, is raptor mews. These are much smaller pens that we intentionally confine the animals in the first stage of their rehabilitation, right after their, say, a broken wing is being repaired and it's still, you intentionally want those creatures very calm and relatively immobile at that early stage in rehabilitation. So much smaller rehabilitation habitats there. Site for foxes over here. We rehabilitated this past year 7 red foxes and 7 gray fox kits. They were all successfully released, so we're pretty proud of that up in the north end of the county. And what cool critters. Up here is where we see our raptor animal ambassador habitats for those unreleasable raptors that we have: bald eagles, owls, vultures, etc. Raccoon habitat for our animal ambassadors. That will be a skunk habitat. That'll be a possum habitat for those creatures. So plenty of opportunities for the local community to support our continued construction efforts, both on the habitats and for the facilities themselves.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andersen.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.